right thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts. Rumor time, reflect. When my mind is upset, I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown offset. Rumor time.
The RUMERTIME process, and I came across this quote: behind every behavior is a belief.
Whatever setting you go to, whether you're at church, whether you're at school, whether you may be having
I was able to analyze a little bit more.
Bringing about real positive
In order for me
changes.
to be effective, I have to be reflective. And this training
I gather an appreciation for reflecting. And I
take it from just something that's inside to getting it in a tangible form, getting it out from.
Fulfilling and rewarding to see the kids who coming and they sincerely growth in them. They became more reflective in their thinking, to see children grow and not just see but to be a part of it.
What I have learned in camp about rumor time is that it's a process for solving problems we face in our lives.
My stress, and then I begin to enjoy and spend time on the things that really make me happy.
I recommend this training to all age, from kindergarten.
Before you do that thing that you'll regret, or say that thing.
If you breathe and think, you should have this training. I would recommend this to everyone.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello, all the people in the GC scored land out there across the globe. We're so happy to be here today. My name is Dr. Yvonne Murray-Laria, and I am one of your hosts for the Access Rumor Time Conversations podcast. We are in November, and one more. This is our last ARC show podcast for 2022. And so I'm going to have the others introduce. We're going to have the others introduce themselves on the show right now.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Dr. Geneva Fleming, bringing you greetings from South Carolina. And I am so excited about this conversation we're going to have today. Although it's the last, I would say it's one of the best and a foundation for moving forward in 2023. So welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Geneva. Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Kelly-Brew. I am excited as well for the guest that we have today, and her sharing her story and how the Rumor Time process has helped her. And I'm sure you guys are going to get a lot out of today's segment. So again, I am Vanessa Kelly-Brew, and welcome to you from the city with a heart, Elkhart, Indiana.
All right,
Hi.
Naomi, introduce yourself.
So hi, everybody. I'm Naomi. I'm from South Carolina, and I am so excited to be here with you all to share my story with you about the Rumor Time process and how effective and how exciting I am to just tell you what it's done for my life or in my life. I'm just so excited. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And so you guys know how, for those of our regulars, and we're always happy to have our regulars. We're always happy to have you guys. And we want you in 2023 to continue coming and inviting others, because you do not want to keep this amazing process to yourselves. Okay, so I'm going to turn right now. We have our education segment, and that's what we're going to do. Spend about 10 minutes in the education segment so that everybody could know what it is we're talking about, and we can all be talking from the same singing sheet. All right, let's see here. Hopefully this works for me.
Using the same musical notes, huh?
Yes. And of course, it's not showing up. Okay. Let's see here. Why is it doing that? Okay, while I'm trying to, it worked just now, but it's not working now. So while I'm trying to do that, we could, Vanessa, could you, or Geneva, could you guys have some conversation?
Oh, I mean, we can. You want us to go ahead and get started? We can do that, and then pull in the educational piece a bit later. I can do that. I will share just briefly who we are and what our mission is. So, we, for those who are not familiar, if we have any newbies on the line today, we are GC Scored, and that's an acronym that stands for the Global Center for Systemic Change, Outcome, Research, Evaluation, and Development. And our mission is to renew minds, transform lives, and create safer communities. And there's a process, a strategy for making that happen. That is our mission. And as you all know, those who are not new are familiar with, here we are. So this GC Scored's mission is every day, our mission is to renew minds, transform lives, and create safer communities. And Vanessa, I pass the mic to you as we, new slide, please.
Okay. All right. And so, how do we do that? So, we do that through a process that is called social emotional health and wellness. And so, what is that? It is a person's ability to recognize, understand, manage, express, and reflect on their thoughts, their interactions, their mindsets, and emotions as it relates to self, others, and situations. And as you effectively utilize these skills, you become equipped and empowered to successfully navigate daily activities such as loving, learning, earning, relationship building, problem solving, and adapting to demands of growth and development.
Okay. And the rumor time is an acronym. It is an acronym that talks about recognizing, understanding, manage, express, and reflect on your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and your emotions. So how it works is you continue. It's a cycle, right? It's a cycle of problem solving. It's a cycle of conscious living. And so you would recognize your time, which is your thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions. Then you would understand your time, thoughts, interactions, mindsets, emotions. Then you would manage, express, and reflect your time. So it is a cycle. And it doesn't necessarily mean that when you finish recognize, you're completely done with that. This is a cycle of problem solving. It's a cycle of life, basically, and living. All right, so that's what rumor time is. It is an acronym. Then we have the definition of the rumor time process, right? So you just learned what rumor time stands for, is an acronym. And the process, the rumor time process, is a 5-step, culturally responsive, social emotional problem solving strategy that helps individuals move from a position of intra and interpersonal imbalance to balance, and from unconscious living to conscious living. Okay? And so that is the definition of the rumor time process. So you're going to hear us talking about the rumor time process, rumorizing, and rumorization. It all comes from this word or acronym, rumor time. And this is the definition. The rumor time process is a 5-step, culturally responsive, social emotional problem solving strategy that helps individuals move from a position of intra and interpersonal imbalance to intra and interpersonal balance, and from unconscious living to conscious living. All right. And so just moving into some updates on what's happening at GC Scored, we have a course that we have launched and continuing to launch and continuing to accept enrollment, and that is My Story. It's called My Story. It's My Story, C for 4, the number 4, me. Okay, so it's My Story, CIFA for me. And we would love for you to enroll in that course. It is, you can find information on it at www.everypeacematters.com/IC, ISEE, Institute for Social Emotional Education. So again, my story, and that's what you're going to hear about today. Be the teller of your story. Next, we also have coming up, and this is not just us, but organizations across the globe, on Tuesday, November 29th, we are participating in the Giving Tuesday event. We want you to save that date because on that day, we are wanting to raise $20,000 to support the work of GC Scored. I know you want to be a part of this. Even if you don't have $5 to give 2, give 3, give 1. Whatever you can give is going to support the work that GC Scored is doing locally and across the globe. Again, we're going to be live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we would love to have you come and listen to stories of how individuals' lives have been transformed, how their minds have been renewed, and how they are making a difference in their communities to create a safer space for all to exist in consciousness and in balance. All right, so that's what's happening with GC Scored right now. And so we're going to move into our topic for today, which is RUMERTIME is a relationship saver. And we want to just share with you the definition of relationship management skills. And that is your ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own time, your thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions. As you become more competent in managing your own time, you then become equipped to influence, inspire, empower, and positively impact the dynamics of your relationships. The desired outcome is to create bonds with and amongst others so that everyone feels heard, understood, valued, supported, and as though they matter because they do. And so Naomi Cills is our fabulous guest, and she is going to basically tell us how this definition of relationship management skills has shown up in her life in different ways, in a way that impacts herself and her relationships. So take it away.
Okay.
So, Yvonne, though, before we have Naomi tell us how this has impacted her, I think there was a quote that she had that stated how it changed her life.
Okay.
Okay.
Is Naomi ready to go?
Yes. Do you want me to read that quote? Or okay, I'll go ahead.
So I'll tell you what, I have it. So I'll go on and read the quote, Naomi,
Okay.
and then you can elaborate on that to let everyone know, like, how it changed your life, the process you went through. Okay. So the quote that you had was, this was in a conversation. You said, "This was a liberating conversation as I recognized my emotions about so many decisions I have made and not made throughout my adult life because I did not want to be labeled and become stigmatized as being the angry, emotional Black woman. I now recognize I became emotionally imprisoned, which affected my thoughts, my interactions with others, and my unhealthy mindset about women expressing themselves. I now recognize and understand why I was so introverted, denied myself of opportunities and decisions that would and could have benefited me, always placed myself last, and was more compliant to others' suggestions, meaning denying my own when interacting. And then you stated that the rumor time process has freed you from yourself. Now that's deep. It freed you from yourself and the internal mental prison of your time. It was liberating to you.
Yes, it definitely was. Those are powerful words.
Powerful.
And the rumor time, thanks so much for reading that. The rumor time process was what gave me, or empowered me, I should say, to be able to write that down and use those words because it was so applicable. It was during a session somewhat like this that I was sitting and listening, and then I realized and recognized what I have been doing or was doing to myself. And Rumor Time helped me to do that. One of the things I wanted to share, the first time that I heard about Rumor Time was through Dr. Geneva. She was at a social work conference, I think it was, and she was doing a presentation about the Rumor Time process. At that time, all the pieces did not connect with me at the time because it was all new, but it piqued my interest. And after the presentation and the end of the seminar, the conference, the social work conference, she handed out some little flyers, like a little pamphlet that open up like I call it an accordion, little booklet. So, and you just fold it back neatly. And I looked at it and said, this is interesting. And, you know, it inspired me the way it was referring to all of this as, you know, cultivating and farm work and all that. And I was very intrigued because I'm an avid gardener of plants. And so that's one of the reasons why it piqued my interest. Well, I kind of put it aside. And then about a few months later, I got this email stating that there was a Rumor Time process training that was going to be going on, super training. And so they sent it to me, and I actually took it. And later, when the training was being offered, like I said, I received that email invitation, and I guess as the cliche says, the rest is history. And that was it was more than 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And that's how my life has evolved to where it is now, in my relationships, and everything that I do, both my professional and my personal life, everything, I just apply the Rumor Time process because it's so powerful. One of the ways it has impacted, and I'm going to come back to that quote that Vanessa read, but one of the ways in which it has impacted me, let's just say 1 hour is not nearly enough to explain how much it has impacted me to express it, but it has. But I'll sum it up and say that it has completely changed my life, in my relationships, in my interaction with others. I recognize that at first, what I used to do was I used to manage, but it was unhealthy management. Every once in a while, I would manage okay, but it was more unhealthy management of my challenges, the way I went about it. My emotions were the ones that governed how I managed. So I would scream, I would holler, I would yell, I would shut down, I would, all those things. And I carried it over into my relationship with my children, and where I disciplined them, the screaming, the hollering, the loud noise, the yelling. And it wasn't productive. And what I did, that was how I expressed myself. And then when I reflect back, I would always feel even worse the way I managed it. But I didn't recognize what I needed to do, and I didn't understand why I did what I did. until rheumatime. And so I had to manage, even though it's unhealthy and harmful. I had the express, even though they were outbursts. And I had the reflection, which made me feel even worse because it affected my emotions considerably. But with the RUMERTIME process, thank you, Dr. Larry. Thank you, Dr. Geneva, for introducing me, being that ambassador out there. With the RUMERTIME process, I was finally able to sit down and recognize how my thoughts played into it, how my interactions played into it, how my mindset, the terrible mindsets I had in dealing with and managing things, and my emotions, how they were all correlated, and how it contributed to the way I was feeling and the way I was negatively managing all these years. And when that clicked, I have been free at last.
Revolutionize.
Free at last.
Yes.
It's not that I don't have problems, but now I have a systemic way, a way in which to deal with it effectively and more manageably. That has been a lifesaver for me.
Absolutely.
It has improved all my conversations with my children, my husband, especially my husband. And that is a story I'll share with y'all later, because that has to be told. That has been the biggest change in my relationships. And I don't know how to go about explaining it just yet. But if it had not been for the RUMERTIME process, let's just say the way I manage things and the way I feel and my emotions and my interactions would not have changed.
Would you say that your relationship then the change started intrapersonally first? Within you, within Naomi?
Yes. I didn't love myself very much. I hated myself for the way in which I reacted. One of the reasons why I majored in psychology was because I wanted to find out why I did the things I did. Why was I always, I didn't go into psychology because I wanted to find out about other people. I was searching. And even though I took psychology, it still didn't answer the questions I had. It didn't direct me. It just told me about other people and the other things that they did and all that. But it never really had me
got to the roots.
Yes, it never did. Okay, it said certain things. Yes, I could. Now that I have the RUMERTIME process, I could understand better what it meant. I can apply it better to myself. But before, it was just education. I'm learning. So it was more outward, let me put it that way, more than inward. I still did not have a tool that I could utilize to address what and why I was behaving the way I was. Even though I had some of the information that, okay, if you know, your social environment could contribute to the way you actually do things, or the way in which you behave and the way in which you think, it still didn't tell me how to change it.
Right.
You know, I wanted that power to be mine, not someone else's power, where I had to go, which and I have been to, you know, and I'm not knocking psychologists or any of that, but I'm saying, or psychiatrists or therapists or any of that, because I do the same thing. But when they're not around, what do I do? When I can't reach them, what are some things that I can do that is easy to follow and process, like the RUMERTIME process, so that I can actually take care of that challenging situation? I didn't have that. Thank God for the RUMERTIME process.
I am thankful.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That's what that's what we created this, so that individuals at every station of life, in every setting, can have this tool that equips them, educates them, and empower them. Because that's what you just said. You said, I didn't want to give my power away. I wanted to have the power. That's empowerment. That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
And Naomi, you have shared mouthfuls, so many helpful nuggets. One of the things I want to share just to help our listening audience understand an example of moving from unconscious living to conscious living was a piece of Naomi's story that she just shared. She talked about really the way she managed. She described it as unhealthy management. So I look at that unconscious living, and it's unconscious because she wasn't aware. She didn't recognize that her emotions were leading, were guiding, were governing her response and how she do what she did, But she had to put herself on pause. She didn't like it, but she paused. She saw that little accordion brochure, that little tiny little brochure, which piqued her interest. And then she started to dig deeper and took the course and all of this. But the point I want to make is how many of us, how many individuals that you know of that live unconsciously? They live according to the emotions. How are you doing today? Well, I feel like people talk about their feelings all day long, but don't have the capacity or the wisdom or the understanding to link feelings to thoughts and ask those why questions. So Naomi took the time to do that. And through going through that process, she's moved herself from a place of unconscious, out of balance living to more of conscious, more in balance living. So I wanted to just point that out for our audience. And thanks so much for sharing.
You're welcome. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to piggyback on that, Dr. G. So you said that she was able to move from unconscious living to conscious living. And so for those who are listening, I wonder, Naomi, if you can share what were the things, the steps that you took to move from unconscious living to conscious living?
Excellent. Yeah.
Well, I love that question because I'm so glad you asked it, because I was going to say that I didn't even know I was unconscious. A person who's unconscious don't even know.
No way. Right.
Speaking as a nurse as well, because I'm a nurse also. Speaking as a nurse, I did not know I was unconscious. I have taken care of unconscious patients. They don't know they're unconscious. When they wake up, they say, "What happened?" But they had help. They have a nurse and doctors and a whole medical staff that is working to bring them back to consciousness.
I love it.
That's where
I love it.
That's where the ambassadors like Dr. Geneva and actually the entire group of social emotional wellness facilitators and breathed back life into me by first giving me, that was the IV, the little accordion was the IV that I needed to actually get me to at least become aware of something was going on.
Right.
I did not know I was unconscious. And so you're acting, like I said, emotions, which aren't, what are emotions?
They are messengers. They are messengers to tell you what's going on, right?
How many times we get sick and we have certain things that are messaging us saying, you're feeling tired, you're feeling weak, you don't have an appetite, you might have a little fever, all those things, those are the emotions. The social
emotion.
symptoms.
Yes, social emotional symptoms.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it, Naomi.
So that was what
so important.
Yes, that is what brought me back. If I knew it, because I've always prayed, I've always been searching. It's obvious I was searching. That's why, like I said, I went into psychology and sociology and all these things. And yes, they connected, but I still felt like the piece that I was in this puzzle didn't fit. And so the RUMERTIME process was the missing piece that I needed to connect to, sort of like that atom that I needed to connect to be now able to fit into something, this puzzle, which was my life, that I didn't really know about or understood. And that's what the RUMERTIME process, it guided me through the steps to help me to understand myself better, how what I was putting forward, how I interacted, the thoughts I was having, the interactions I was having with the people that were very close to me, that I love, but had a difficult time expressing that, which is also part of the RUMERTIME process expression. I was expressing it in unhealthy ways that was creating distancing from me. But I was not conscious of that. I would just say what I had to say, and if you didn't like it, then fine. But then I still wanted that connection, but I was pushing people away unconsciously. So when I recognized that, I had to dig deeper now to find out, why was I even doing it? Why was I responding that way? And then I had to go way back to my childhood. And that was where it all started. But RUMERTIME process helped me to do that, to dig deeper. It showed me the steps and what I needed to do, how I could go back and not be afraid. I buried it, but it was still in there and coming out in other ways. Even though it was buried, it was still springing up. Unconsciously it was. I wasn't aware it was, but it was coming out. The fruits were in my emotions. That was the way I was responding, that negative behavior that I was doing. So those were the things that were coming out. And I'm like, okay, there's no plant. I don't see any plant, but the fruits are there. So where are they coming from? I was that plant. And I was planted in unhealthy soil. And I didn't recognize that because I'd been in it for so long. And because I had been in it for so long, the fruits that were coming out, I didn't know the fruits were bitter or sour because it was the only thing I was able to produce all my life. So if I'm producing all this, thank God for the RUMERTIME process that now reassessed my soil, enriched it, empowered it, and then I started to blossom. And then my fruits changed. People interacted with me differently because then I was not only aware of how I feel, now I was aware that they also had a story and it could impact how I relate to them and how they related to me. It wasn't just me having a story, it was them also having a story. And I needed to find out what their story was. Instead of being judgmental, I had to find out their story so that we could come together. That was what I needed to do. And I'll tell you about that later on, because that one is where my husband came in.
Awesome. I oh my goodness, Naomi. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. And for me to be speechless is a task, monumental. What I want to do is, if we can get the slide that talks about the relationship management skills up, if we can get that up, because I want to some key things that Naomi said. She talked about our definition of the part of the definition of the relationship management skills is, hear this, the desired outcome is to create bonds with and amongst others so that everyone feels heard, understood, valued, supported, and as though they matter. And everything that Naomi just talked about when she was unconscious was destroying this outcome. And even though she may have wanted that, the unconscious living, the poor soil, the lack of essential growth elements created bonds that were weakened, and harmful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, and so this is what we want. This is the desired outcome. But as we know, many times when we plant things, there are other factors, weeds and other herbicidal types of influences that come in to corrupt the soil, to corrupt. We have gas being let out into the atmosphere. We have climate change. All of those things impact the plant world, but we have the equivalent of that in the human development and life world that negatively and adversely impacts our ability to create bonds with and amongst others. That was a powerful, powerful. Oh my goodness. And Vanessa, Geneva, what do you guys want to say? And
The
we'll.
same. No, it just, Naomi's experience is point on with who we are and what we do. And I'm so glad that you were introduced to the RUMERTIME process and is able to now share your story with others. I was also impressed by your tying in the agricultural metaphor. You talked about that. And so for those in our listening audience, there are many of you who may already know about our agricultural metaphor, but you hear Naomi talking about fruits and roots and soil and how important it is. When we talk about soil, we're talking about the environment. So she shared, though, that she was operating from an environment that wasn't healthy. And, I can't help but think about how many others in the world that's their MO is to operate because they are not aware. They do
They're
not yet
unconscious.
recognize. They are living unconsciously. Exactly
Consciously.
right.
Yeah.
So you are just so point on, and you shared, Dr. Larry, about those essential growth elements. I really love. That's one of the things that I really love about the RUMERTIME process is the being analogous to or utilizing an agricultural metaphor to describe our life. And if anybody know anything about the plant world, we certainly can apply it to our own, human life. And
Yes.
Naomi, you just described it so beautifully.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you were getting sour grapes at one point, and now your grapes are getting sweeter and sweeter by the day.
Yeah. Vanessa.
Yeah, so for me, I always love to have clarity, right? And so, just to be a bit more clear for those who are not familiar with the RUMERTIME process, when you talk about the soil and the environment, that means the families that we have grown into, right? It means the environment, right? What our interactions with our family, with our friends, with churches, with school systems, all of that goes into the soil that makes us who we are. And so for those who are listening, the other question that came up to me when you all were talking about this is, what about people who say, well, that's just who I am? Have you heard that before? Have you heard that question or that phrase? Well, that's just who I am. And so, in some way, I think that is a person maybe unconsciously not being aware of the power that they have to change.
That's right.
Or not understanding that change is possible. So I just wonder, if Naomi, you can speak to that, or somebody on the panel can speak to that.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I hated myself, because that's who I associated myself as being, this angry person who couldn't handle her emotions, who did not know how to interact with others, because that was the only fruits I've had. I've seen my dad, I've seen my grandparents, I've seen other people in the community. That's how they responded. That's how they handled things. They yelled, they screamed, they threw things. I would never forget one time, I don't know what was wrong, but I was overwhelmed being a mom of triplets and having 4 children and they all around the same age. And I was just stressed. And so I actually started throwing plates, and they were looking at mom like, what is wrong with mom? Because I was frustrated and I didn't know what to do. I don't remember what it was that was wrong, but I broke the plates, I broke the oven and the stove, and the oven, the glass on the oven. And then I sat down and I cried. because I didn't know how to manage whatever it was that I was experiencing. And I cried and I said, that's just who I am. And I don't like who I am, but I don't know what I need to do to not be who I am. And the RUMERTIME process showed me how before I react to something, I could sit down, recognize what is happening, recognize my thoughts about it, my interactions. What is causing me? What am I interacting with? Well, if you have 4 little babies in the house and you're the only one there, and they're all crying and screaming and hollering at you, and then you don't have no time for yourself. So I recognized that I needed more help. But how do I do that? I couldn't stop and recognize that because I didn't know I needed to do it. I just know I needed to get rid of the pent up anger and frustration I was having, and I wanted it gone, and I wanted it gone now. And the stove, I didn't want to hit them, so I hit the stove because I was hit growing up, and I was beaten. I was physically beaten, and I would call it physical abuse, but I was beaten. I was emotionally abused, and some of those things I didn't want for my children, but then I found myself doing it. And then when I reflect back, I cried. So it created more emotion or more emotional turmoil.
Yes.
And that was the RUMERTIME process helped me to go through every piece and face it. Some of it was hard to do, but it was hard to do, but it was better than what I was experiencing. Because now that I was awake, I was conscious, I now was feeling all the pain. And the RUMERTIME process helped me to understand that it's okay to embrace that pain.
Exactly.
Because you will be able to come out from it. Once you embrace that pain, once you accept that pain, it's something I couldn't change because it had already happened.
Right.
But I could accept the fact that it has happened. And now what do? How do I understood it happen? I understood my thoughts, my interactions, my mindset played on that. Okay, because that was all I knew. So what do I do now? How do I go about managing it? So it gave me the time. When I was recognizing my time, thoughts, interaction, mindsets, and emotions, when I was understanding my thoughts, interactions, mindset, and emotions, it helped me to cool off. So that was what I applied. So when I took the time to do that, I was better now able to process what I needed to do in order to be effective and do it in a healthier, less harmful way, a less harmful manner. And that was what I have applied. Do I sometimes fall, or sometimes I yell? Yes. And I know, but when I use the RUMERTIME process, I know why I yell. Well, if I'm doing all this stuff and I'm designating different things and I become overwhelmed, then the stress builds up. I don't take that time for myself. Then I explode again. So when I recognize that, then I can make the better decisions by managing better, because I understand I need to set aside that time. I need some downtime. I need some me time instead of going, because anything that keeps going without a break eventually breaks. So that's what happens to me.
Yeah.
And when I recognize that I'm better, the RUMERTIME process helped me to be able to do that and do it effectively. So I'm able to now, when I see other people that way, I know better than approaching them or saying, is there anything I can help with? Do you want to talk about it right now? I'm able better to understand that with my family, the people that I love, the people that I care about. And it's work, and I try to teach it to them as well. So, and it's work miracles for my relationship. And I'm going to say this right quick. One of the things that it has helped me, that has grown, my husband and I have been married for over 35 years.
Wow.
And I think that has been one of my most challenging interactions, because he's around me all the time. We're around each other all the time, not in a negative way per se, but we're there. So I was frequently being misunderstood when I say something to him. I realized for so many years he would just talk and he just take it for granted that somebody understood. So now I recognize that, and I've been using it. He's been using those words. I'm so proud of him. He said, I recognize that you're not having a good day. I understand you probably want So, because previously, my thoughts were, I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this. I can't. I need to get out of here. My interactions, it was strained, it was distant, curt, tense, short-tempered, sometimes really loud. I was doing more of the loud yelling or the silent treatment. So it fluctuated. My
Right.
mindset was, after all these years of marriage, we should be better able to communicate. We should be better communicators. We should be better able to communicate more effectively. And I said, he should be able to understand me better. Like I understand him. But he also didn't know. He didn't know about the RUMERTIME process. He can't understand me. He was still unconscious.
Yes.
So I had
Yes.
to breathe life into him with the RUMERTIME amplifier.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So now we have effective communication. He understands when I need that time. And if I recognize that he does not understand what I'm saying or he misinterprets it, I don't get mad. I don't yell and scream. I'm like, oh my God, not again. Now I say, which part of it you don't understand? And I don't say it with an attitude or with highly antagonistic emotions. I'm now better able to manage by saying to him, what is it you don't understand? And we go through the process and he's able to understand better. He says, I'm able to understand you better. I'm able to understand you now because for so long, I don't know what he heard. Do you remember that little, I think it's peanuts, those are peanuts, no, wah, 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 wah. I think that's what he heard when I was talking. But he's now so much better able to understand.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes, that is awesome. That's awesome. Oh my goodness.
I
Vanessa,
have
did you get your
so many questions. I have so many questions.
Ask
And I'm
him.
looking at the clock. I'm
Told you
thinking
an
about
hour wasn't good enough.
I know, right? It's excellent. You're speaking 100%. Like people, the kids say, keep it 100. You're keeping it 100 with everything.
Yeah.
So it seems that a question may need to be asked. One of the things that you described or that you stated in your process of coming into awareness, you're becoming more self-aware, is you put yourself on pause. You recognize you empowered yourself to slow down long enough to pause. Dr. Larry, can you share the acronym for pause?
For pause
How important
is
it is to put ourselves on pause. And yeah, so I want to connect this back to Vanessa's question about that's just who I am. That's just the way I am. Well, I want to say that for people who use those statements like that, you might assess the quality of your relationships. Today, we're talking about relational capacity. So check the quality of your relationships, your intrapersonal and your interpersonal, your relationship with others at home, maybe on the job, your social life, check the qualities of those relationships. And if you're finding that there may be challenges somewhere, you might consider putting yourself on pause. And so, Dr. Larry, share the acronym.
What pause means? Yeah. Pause means pause activities urgently for social emotional education.
Yeah. Put yourself on recognize.
Yeah.
Go say it again.
Pause activities urgently for social emotional education.
And so sometimes go ahead. I just want to say that that means that your mindset of that's just the way I am, you may start with yourself. And that if you're thinking that other people have the issues, we need to start with our own a view or an assessment of our own selves, that's where the solution starts. It's with ourselves and not so much with others.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the things I had said that about myself, when I used to say that was my mindset, but that's just the way I am. And I found myself asking myself the question, well, how is that working for you with where you want to go?
I'm glad you asked yourself the question.
It's not, I asked myself the question. I'm like, so how is it working out for you? And, especially you want to interact more with people and you're saying people are pulling away from you. How is that going? So
Exactly. And so definitely that whole segment of reflecting, right? And that's why earlier when I was doing the education piece, I said, this is a cycle, right?
Yes.
You keep going around and around until you get to the place of, well, this is working well for me.
Yes.
It honestly and accurately, because many times we could say it's working for me, okay, I'm fine,
Yes.
right? But not being honest and accurate, and we're using it as a defense mechanism, because we don't want to deal with our own stories. And so what Naomi has shared this afternoon is her story. And we started off talking about, is your story, whether good, bad, or ugly, tell it boldly without apology. And I want to promote our course right now. Our course, it's my story, see for me. If you want to have a similar experience like Naomi's, that is the course that you need to take. Sign up. You should be rushing right now to sign up for this course, because it is the reason Naomi is experiencing healthy, happy, hard work relationships, but she is doing the work. Her family, her marriage is experiencing um, abundant, luscious fruits, luscious, tasty, juicy, ripe fruits. And she is experiencing that because she has learned the steps involved in telling her story. Because it is so important to be the teller of your own story. Don't let anybody else be, the creative director, the executive producer, the writer. You have your story and you tell it. And I know, Naomi, you wanted to say something about that. I remember in the beginning, you wanted to say something about that. But before you say it, think about it. Vanessa, we have a couple of comments in the chat.
Yes, yes. And so we have JJ here, and we'll say welcome to you, JJ. It's good to know you're listening. So JJ says, "Good afternoon, team. I am on the road, so my quality reception is not as good. However, my love and belief in the system is eternal. You guys rock. Lime forever."
Rumor time
Says
rules.
rumor time rules.
Yes, I love it. I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank you, Lime. And so I also want to encourage others of you who are listening, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat bar. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes. So Naomi, what did you want to tell us about being the teller of your own story?
It's important not to give someone else that power, because then they can write whatever they want to. It doesn't make it true, because it's not truly who you are. For so long, I allowed others to write my story, and I became that character. It wasn't me. I was just a character acting in a play that was written for me, not about me. So that's how I like to verbalize it and term it.
Yes.
It's a character I played, and I played it well. But I'm through playing now, and I'm doing my own autobiography. I'm just doing
absolutely
it.
Love it.
No more. And
so
you know
I ain't
what?
playing.
No. So you
I'm not
cry
playing.
when they tell you to cry, or when they make you cry. You laugh even though inside you want to cry, and then you're crying when you want to laugh. So because someone else is controlling that. They're controlling my thoughts. They're controlling my interactions. I have to be around certain people to feel a certain way. They're controlling my mindset. I'm nothing. I'm a nobody. I'm not good enough. Nobody will ever love me. Nobody loves me. And the emotions, I'm feeling sad, upset, unhappy. So when you are empowered and you recognize that you are the only one who can tell the true story about yourself and be that person, you get to write it, get to erase something you don't like.
Yes.
Type in or write in something you do want. instead of having somebody say, well, they're just writing it based on their needs instead of your
This is
needs.
so good.
So
This is
you
so
can control your story. Make it an option today to do that. Okay,
Absolutely.
because if you'll have the best freedom, that doesn't say you're not going to have challenges,
Right.
but at least you know what you can do or what you have in your hands, the tools that you have to change it. Sometimes it may take a little while, just like pruning a tree. It takes a little while for it to start blooming again, but that's fine. At least you prune it and it's going to grow. It's in that soil. So you take control of your story. You do all the cultivating, and the through RUMERTIME process will help you do that.
Yeah, and you know, there's a statement. There's another one of the quotes, and if you join the course, you will learn more about this. We say, beware of unauthorized story snatchers.
Exactly.
Beware of unauthorized story snatchers. And the only way you could beware of is that you have to live what? Consciously.
And don't let anyone write an inquirer out of your life. You know, the inquirer, those little fable things and putting things in there. Okay,
Yes.
that's
Yes, you know, I'm bursting at the seam while all of this wonderful conversation is going on about empowerment. There was another statement you made in your quote, and I have a question for you. But a piece of what you said that, you know, there was a time when you denied yourself of opportunities and decisions that would and could have benefited you, but you always placed yourself last. And you were more compliant with others' suggestion, denying yourself. You put other people first.
Yes.
My question is, what is your message to others? What would you say to those who are still functioning in that putting themselves last? You know, taking care of other people first.
Recognize, wake up. Wake up, recognize. If you can hear me in the distance, just recognize that this is what you're doing. Understand the impact it's having on your life. Understand the emotional chaos it's creating for you. And manage well. Tap into this RUMERTIME process, you know. Get that it's going to affect your social and emotional health and well-being. I needed that first aid, and I got it. That social, emotional first aid. I needed it. And it brought me back to life. I didn't just get up and start walking. I had to crawl a little bit. I had to walk a little bit, shuffle a little bit. But now I'm running. And I'm helping others. I'm taking others along. So, I'm running. So because it has really made a big impact on me. It really has. It has changed my life. It has revitalize my relationships, especially the ones that are so important to me. Beginning first with the relationship I have with myself, and then working outward. Because if I feel good, everybody around me is going to feel good. If I feel good, nobody around me feel good. I know my husband said, he can always tell. I recognize something is wrong with you. What's going on? You want to talk about it? Not right now. I just need to get that time into myself, you know. But at least he understands now.
Yes.
You know, get back with yourself. Wake up. That's the only way you're going to be able to understand what's going on. Recognize what's going on first, and then understand, so that you'll be able to better manage it. Do not give anyone control of your life. That's what unconscious people do, and it doesn't work well. So when we wake you up, get up.
Get up.
And
Get
go on
up.
forward.
And another quote you're gonna find when you enroll in the CIFA for Me, It's My Story. You're gonna find a quote that says, "Be the hero and the heroine in your story." Your story is made up of your life is made up of stories, and stories make up your life.
Yes.
You gotta join that class. You want to be like Naomi?
Yeah.
You gotta do it. She's done the work. She's done the work and continues to do the work. I think
Absolutely.
there's some
and eating juicy
statements
fruit
in the
every
chat.
day.
Yeah.
Vanessa, what do you have in the chat?
So
So, Catherine says, Naomi, you are dropping gems today. so, so she's saying thank you. And
Thank
Lois
you.
Lynn is also saying, she's like, hallelujah, I got in. Thank you. I needed that. I needed that.
All right, Lois.
Great.
Yes. Awesome. Vanessa,
Rumor
what do
time
you want
is
to
the only
say?
time. It's rumor time, everybody. It's rumor time.
Rumor time.
RUMERTIME.
That's
Rumor
right.
time.
Rumor time every time is awesome time.
All
Yes.
the time.
All the time.
That's right.
Can't
All
go
right.
wrong
So
with it.
yeah, so we have 1 minute left.
Well, do we?
Oh,
Looks like
wow.
we're over by 20 seconds.
Oh, well, it's our show, and so we can go over by however long we want. Okay. We're taking back the power from others who try to take it away from us. Anyway, what are parting words, Vanessa?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say, Naomi, thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us and inspiring the listening audience. And one of the things that I really want you all to take away from this is what Naomi said, that this is a process. Right? She leaned into it. She wanted to make changes in her life, and she recognized that she had the power to change her story. And what she did was she began to narrate her own story for herself. Okay. But that's just the first step. So this rumor time process is an ongoing process. This is a lifelong process. And as Naomi said, it doesn't mean that you are not going to have challenges. We are human. We live, every day there are different challenges that are being presented to us. But this rumor time process gives you a framework to help you deal with the challenges that come in your life. And so you have the tools to be able to recognize what is going on, what is showing up in your life, understanding why it's there, and being able to manage and express it in a healthy way. So again, thank you, Naomi, so much for coming and dropping those gems.
Yes.
You're
Totally.
welcome.
I ditto what Vanessa just said. I so appreciate you sharing with us today. And if the listening audience could just take on what you heard from Naomi, those who are present today and those who watch this podcast later, listen to the gems that Naomi was sharing today, and you yourself take the initiative or pause, as we talked earlier, to educate, equip, and empower yourself through the rumor time process. Thanks again, Naomi.
Thank you.
Yeah, Naomi, what do you want to
Yes.
say in parting? What are your parting words?
Take back control of your story.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Take it back.
Sabrina
Wake up.
says, thank
Wake
you.
up. Love it.
Sabrina says, great podcast. Loyson said, I needed that. And in my final words, I want to say, beware of unauthorized story snatchers. Don't let them take your story. You tell your story, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Tell
That's
it
your story.
boldly without apology. And we want to remind you to go and register for the It's My Story course. If you want to experience what Naomi experienced, that is the course for you right now. That is the course for you right now. Go to www.everypeacematters.com/IC. I want to welcome Nico. Thank you so much. She says this was an eye opener. Awesome. Thank you for coming. Blessings, everyone. This is our last show for 2022. We will see you on the 29th at our Giving Tuesday marathon live. Come back. You will hear more from Naomi and others who have experienced such a life changing experience because of the RUMERTIME process. Have a great evening. Those of you in the US, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
I choose to only think of thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts. RUMERTIME reflects. When my mind is upset, I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown offset. RUMERTIME.
The RUMERTIME process, and I came across this quote: behind every behavior is a belief.
Whatever setting you go to, whether you're at church, whether you're at school, whether you may be having
I was
an issue
able
at home,
to analyze a little bit more.
bringing about real positive
in order for me
changes.
to be effective, I have to be reflective. And this training
I gather an appreciation for reflecting. And I
Take it from just something that's inside to getting it in a tangible form, getting it out from.
Fulfilling and rewarding to see the kids who coming and they sincerely growth in them. They became more reflective in their thinking, to see children grow and not just see, but to be a part of it.
What I have learned in camp about RUMERTIME is that it's a process for solving problems we face in our
reduces a lot
lives.
of my stress, and then I begin to enjoy and spend time on the things that really make me happy. And
recommend this training to all age, from kindergarten.
Before you do that thing that you'll regret, or say that thing.
If you breathe and think, you should have this training. I would recommend this to everyone.